Ladies and gentlemen and children of all ages, the play's the thing. With your host, Judy Sleed. Special guest, Amy Salle, world-famed producer of film. Now here's Judy.
Where'd you get this song?
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Play's the Thing. And my name is Judy Sleed, in case I forgot. And today I have the famous Amy. A song was written about her. Once in Love with Amy. Two songs.
And then Pure Prairie League wrote a song, Amy.
Oh, really?
I'm not going to sing it because I can't sing, but...
Oh, you are being too modest.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Hello, Amy.
Hi, Judy.
It is nice to have you in my hot seat, as they say.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
And although I see you almost, every week and for years and years, I just don't know anything about you. Now you're going to tell me and you're going to tell the world so we could all know where Amy came from.
Okay, where did I come from? Well, I was born on Long Island. I was born in Bayshore in 1968, 40 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And I went to high school in Long Island, and then I went away to college. And I went away,
Where did you go?
I wound up graduating from the University of Anchorage, Alaska.
Alaska?
I lived in Anchorage.
I thought I heard something like that.
Yes.
So when you said you were from Long Island, and I said, wait a minute, it's too local.
Yeah, no. I left. I went there for 5 years. I lived there for 5 years.
What made you go to Alaska?
Well, I had friends there, and I was young enough, and it was an experience that I really wanted to do, and I did it. I left, and I transferred schools, and I continued to finish college there, and stayed there for an extra year and a half after I graduated college, and traveled around Alaska and visited different villages.
Did you see Russia?
No, I didn't see it.
From the window.
No, but the areas that I went to visit were small little remote towns, and they were unbelievable.
It is. I'm very impressed.
It was unbelievable
Alaska.
how people live and how in the
Not like
cold.
we do.
No running water, no heat, no electricity.
How do they keep warm?
It's fire, different types of fire, like they have wood-burning stoves and kerosene, lanterns, and they cook everything on.
Why do they
They take buckets and they go, there's little villages that these people live in. They're still, killing whales for their, meat, and they use every part of the whale for everything, the skins, everything that they can get out of that whale they use.
Amazing. So you had to live like that too when you were there?
No, absolutely not. But I did want to visit the villages in Alaska.
So
and I
where
wanted
did
to
you
see.
live?
I lived in Anchorage.
So you had all the modern facilities?
Yeah, And then the last 6 months I lived there, my friends and I hired a bush pilot, and we traveled around Alaska, and we went to different villages in Barrow and up in Fairbanks and all over Alaska to visit and see, exactly how different people live and the Eskimos' culture and, how they ate and how they taught their children and, what it was about. And it was very, very interesting.
Fascinating. And can I ask, what was your line in college?
Well, I went to school for business management, actually hotel restaurant management.
Is that right?
But I made a mistake by graduating college and moving back home and moving into the city. I should have listened to my mother. She told me not to move into the city without a job. But I was 23 years old and thought I knew better. So I moved into the city without a job, and what did I do? I needed a job. So of course...
When you talk about the city, New York City?
Yes, I lived in Manhattan. And what had happened was I wanted a job in one of the big hotels. And I didn't find one right away. So what had happened was I was going to get a job real quick on the side while I was looking for the job I really wanted. And I wound up working in a law firm. And they wound up sending me back to school to become a paralegal.
Oh, my.
And I became a paralegal, and I worked for them for 10 years.
Oh. So
Yes.
you're still dreaming about the hotel business?
Actually, I was in the restaurant business. After I left the law firm, I came out to Montauk to visit my mom. She was sick. And I took a leave of absence for the summer about 10 years ago, 11 years ago, and wound up staying. And when I left Manhattan and moved out to Montauk, I started working for a restaurant in Amagansett called Pacific East, which is no longer.
Oh, I remember that.
And I was there for 8.5 years.
Wow, what'd you do there?
I did everything. I did all the books. I took care of the office. I did all the ordering. And everything and anything. I did all the wedding event planning. I was Michael's personal assistant. It was a very exciting job. It was fun. I never sat down. I loved my hours. I loved the days I worked. I loved meeting all the new people out here because I was new out here. I didn't know anybody. And I'll tell you, I've met some people. I've met a lot of great people working at LTV, too. A lot of interesting people.
I can imagine.
And then after Pacific East closed, obviously, I was looking for something else. And Seth called me one day, and I spoke to Seth. I came in, I interviewed with him, and a year ago, last April, I started working for LTV, and I've been here ever since.
Of course, Seth is our executive
Correct.
director here at
Right.
LTV.
Mm-hmm.
And you're doing a fabulous job. Well, you have a fabulous background, business-wise.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not very creative when it comes to art and music and things like that, but there are other things that I like to do.
Well, that's, to me, business is number one, because I'm very creative, but as far as business goes, I am dumb.
Right.
I don't know anything about business.
Right.
So to me, that's a great gift. But you not only gifted, but you studied for it.
Yeah.
And do you have any siblings or relatives?
I'm an only child.
Oh.
And my mom died 5 years ago, and my father died 6 months after that. So I have my aunt and my uncle who live in East Islip, where I grew up. And I have a fiance who I live with. We own a home in West Hampton. His name is Jerry.
From Montauk, now you're in West Hampton.
Right.
You move around a lot.
Well, I should have listened to my mother again when she told me to buy a house out in Montauk 10 years ago. I would have been able to afford one, but now that, they've tripled and quadrupled in price.
Well, what happened to the house in Montauk?
My stepfather's still living in it, who was married to my mom. It's, it was their house, and he's living there now, and, he's a fisherman out in Montauk. He's been there for about 45 years.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. So I like to go out on the boat with him and fish, and I love the summer.
Really?
We love the beach. We love to garden. Yeah, I do a lot of rescue work with animals every day.
Is that right?
Yeah, I do a lot.
What does that take to do rescue work?
Well, it takes a lot of time, patience. You need to have thick skin, which I don't have at all, so I don't know how I do it. I'm a baby. I cry at the drop of a hat. I'm very emotional.
So, I mean, when you say rescue, that means somebody calls you that an animal is lost someplace, and then you go find it, or
there's several different aspects to it. We spay and neuter. What we do is just like ARF. I work with a girl out by where I live. Her name is Sharon. She has a non-for-profit rescue fund, and I foster cats for people who are overloaded, like all the shelters. Now is kitten season, so there's a lot of kittens born. So
how many do you have?
Well, personally, I have 4 inside, 4 outside, and I feed about 36 every day.
Where are the 36?
They're in 3 different locations. I go there every day and I feed them. But we also, people call me and say, I have 4 cats or 2 cats or 1 cat, whatever it is on my property. Can you come? I need the cat spayed or neutered, or I need you to get the cat off the property, or I have a cat on my property and it just had kittens. What do I do? That type of a thing. And I'll go over.
So who does the neutering?
The vet. You have to take the cat to the
I
vet.
thought maybe you did that
No,
too.
I'm not a vet. No, I couldn't do that. You know,
It's
and we just
amazing.
really try to, you know, keep the cat population down, and
Yeah.
you know, because once they're feral, it's very, very, which means wild.
I know we have a lot of feral cats
It's
where I live.
sad. You
Yeah.
know, because then once they get over that, to that point of becoming a feral cat, you can't get them back to being a house cat. They're wild animals, and you can't change that. It's just the way they are. And it's sad because there's a lot of cats. There's a lot of animals, dogs, cats. There's a lot of animals out there that are, you know, just roaming around with no home. And it's really sad because people are giving up their animals because of the economy, and they can't feed them. And the shelters are just overwhelmed. So if everybody can do their part, and it would really help.
It is, became a society of helping cats, but also people.
Yeah, people.
Are also, there's a lot of people, a lot of children are born, and then people cannot afford to care for them.
I know.
So that's the whole. It's a problem, but
I also take care of an 86-year-old man every day. I go there after work and make sure he's eating.
how do you have time to breathe?
Well, I find the time. I mean, I leave here. I always joke with people I work with. When I leave here, I don't get home for 3 hours after I leave here. You know, I make my little stops. I feed the animals. I visit Lou, and you know, if he needs me to grocery shop or do whatever, I do that. And then I go home and I start it all over again with my cats. Make dinner. You know, everybody does
Do you
it.
cook for your cats?
No, but I cook for Jerry.
Oh, you're
My
a
fiance, yeah, I have to.
fiancé.
Well, he cooks too. We both cook. You know, we do it together.
What does he do?
He's an electrician.
Oh, that's a good trade.
Yeah, he loves it. He's been doing it for about 25 years now.
Wow. So what is your ambition now? You had so many different jobs, and you're a lawyer, you're a...
No, I'm not a lawyer, a paralegal. I was a paralegal.
Well, what's the difference?
Well, the difference is there's a big difference. Schooling is one. The amount of time that you put into it is another. I mean, it's totally...
Well, what is it that you can do and
I can't go
cannot?
into a court of law and represent a client, but I can do research for an attorney, and I can work with an attorney on a case. But I can't actually go in front of a judge in a court of law and represent.
Well, okay, so when was the last time you did this?
11 years ago. I used to do workers' compensation, Social Security, disability, and medical malpractice.
It's you know, it's a thing to do, but to me that's very complicated.
It's complicated, and the other thing that I didn't like about it was I did live in the city for a year, but I also lived on Long Island. So I was constantly commuting on the train back and forth, and it was very, very difficult. You'd leave at 6 in the morning, you wouldn't get home till 8:30 at night. It was a very long day.
I remember those days when I used to travel to work and back and all that.
Yeah.
Well, so now that, well, like we started saying, so you were a paralegal and you take care of animals and people, and that was something
Restaurant.
A restaurant business, and not the here at LTV. What else do you think you'd like to do?
Well, there's a few things I'd like to do before I, you know, die, leave this earth.
No, I'm not even talking
I'd like to learn to edit. I'd love to learn to edit.
Oh, you
and
talk
I would
about
love
film.
to do a documentary film. Those are two things that I would really, really like to do. And my dream actually is to open up a penny candy store like the one in Watermill. Remember that old little one? The little one in Watermill that
On Main Street?
Yes, the husband and wife owned. It's been closed now about 4 years.
Yes.
Do you remember that store? You used to walk in and it was like walking back into the 50s.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
but I'd like to have a counter with soda, you know, with the soda machines where you can make the egg clairs and the chocolate egg clairs and the, you know, like something like that. I would love to do that. Like sipping soda
Yeah.
in Southampton, something like that.
Yeah,
That'd be
I
fun.
haven't been there for a while. Do they have like a regular soda machine with a spritzer?
Yep, yep.
See, that's great. So have you been talking to people who would be interested in doing that?
Yeah, we found a place. Jerry and I found a perfect location for our little store. But, you know, we have things we've got to do first before we have a house that we're redoing and things that we're doing. So once, you know, that gets taken care of and we, you know, move on from that, maybe it'll happen.
Well, this is really amazing.
gotta keep
I
yourself
always
busy.
knew that you were an interesting person. I saw a glimpse of you at in the Lois Wright show.
My buddy Lois.
and and it's wonderful. I mean, it shows all through your life you are always doing something. You never stood still.
No.
And you always went into something else, and you're learning, and you're still learning. That is really a very good sign, as you know, your personality is, and you will achieve many things, I think.
Thanks,
I'm not
Judy.
a seer or a witch.
You're not? Come on,
But
I
I
thought
think-
you were going to come and read my cards for me and tell me what my future's going to be, Judy.
Well, you have a very bright future, really,
you.
very bright.
Thanks.
So which place, you've been to Alaska, you've been to Manhattan? And
Well, I've been
on the
all
island.
over, really. I've traveled.
Which is your favorite place, would you say?
My favorite place? I lived in San Francisco for about a year. That was a pretty interesting place to be.
And what did you do there?
I was a paralegal there. What I did was I left the job in New York for a year with another attorney, and we went to San Francisco to work on a bar review course, which is a course that people take that are finishing law school and getting ready to take the bar, which is what you have to pass in order to be an attorney. So we went to San Francisco. We were there for about a year. San Francisco was a great place. Excuse me. I've also traveled around the United States. We took a road trip with an RV. If anybody hasn't done that, you should do that. That's the best trip in the world. 3 months we
So-
did it.
Who's
New
we?
Orleans was great. Me and a bunch of my friends. 3 of my friends went.
Where did you start?
We started in New York, and we wound up in California, and then we wound up coming back. And we took our time, and we went to...
What was your transportation?
We had an RV.
What's an RV?
It's like a big, you know, an RV. Like
Car?
well, it's not a car. It's, you know, like that you use for camping. It's you know, like a camper type of thing that you drive, that you
Of
have a
course,
kitchen.
everybody knows that.
Well,
RV.
you know what I mean, a recreational vehicle. It's like it has a sink and a kitchen and a table in it. And
So you didn't have to go to hotels,
No.
you just stayed.
So we did go to hotels, like when we were in Vegas, we went to a hotel. When we were in New Orleans, we went to a hotel. But most of the time, we stayed in the RV, and we planned the whole trip out.
Who drove?
We took turns. We all took turns.
So, and the whole trip was planned, of course,
Right,
before.
we went to AAA. We got books for each state we were going to. We would read the books. We circled.
How many of you?
There was 3 of us.
Uh-huh.
And it was the greatest trip of my life. It was, there's so much to see in the United States.
Of course
People
there
think
is.
they need to travel to Europe and they need to go to the Caribbean, and there's so much here right in our backyard. It's
Absolutely. I agree with you.
a beautiful, beautiful
I
country.
haven't been all over.
Yes, you have.
Well,
You've
not in the
traveled.
States, outside.
Right. See, you've traveled. You've gone to Europe a lot and back. Because you
I
lived there for a while, didn't you?
I was born there.
Right.
And then when I was married, I went to a lot of Caribbean islands.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as the United States, where did I go? Las Vegas.
Isn't it fun there?
Oh, yeah, I love Las
So
Vegas.
do I.
Yes.
And I'm not a gambler, but I just loved the shows and the bustle and the people and the food. It was really exciting. I loved it.
Yes,
was
it
good.
was.
Where else did you go?
Here in the States, well, upstate and Texas is only because my children are there.
Right. San Antonio, right?
Yes.
And you have 2 children upstate.
Right.
Kingston.
And Woodstock.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
I lived in Kingston also for a while.
We ski right there, up in Bel Air, and we stay at the
Oh.
Kingston Holiday Inn. That's how I knew.
Oh,
And I love Woodstock.
yeah, very quaint. Very quaint.
And there's a lot of very talented artists in Woodstock. You must love it there. Do you like it
yeah,
there?
they have, well, my daughter's companion is in the music business.
Right.
And he's like what you call a musical engineer, and he travels a lot with bands. And there is a theater over there that he works for. And it is, so when I go visit, it's just very nice. And I was going to ask you about where you got your talent, all this drive. Your father and mother?
My
were-
mother. My mother
what
was a
did-
wonderful person. She died 5 years ago, like I had said. I'm the spitting image of my mother.
What did she do?
My mother was a teacher. My mother would go into homes of disabled children, and she would assess them as to what programs they needed to be in. And she was a wonderful person, and she did that most of her life.
Oh, and what about your father?
My father owned restaurants and businesses. We owned a bowling alley growing up. We owned a couple restaurants and bars
Where? In the city?
in Long Island.
In Long Island. Can you name?
Oscar's Bowling Alley was the bowling alley that my grandparents owned, and then my parents took it over. That was in East Islip, and that closed. He owned Governor's Pub. He owned a couple of restaurants, and
You don't know the name.
well, yeah, Governor's Pub was one of the restaurants that he owned. Oscar's had a restaurant attached to it, the bowling alley. He owned one of those. He owned a restaurant upstate, and then he became partners in a few restaurants with other people.
Oh, so you didn't go into the restaurant business?
Well, that's what I wanted to do, and I did for about 8.5 years because I grew up in it and I loved it. I loved always talking to people and being around people and happy
well, that
people.
was before you went to Alaska, huh?
Yeah, and then I went and, I transferred to Alaska and I took hotel restaurant management courses and I got my business degree and there I was, but I needed a job and I moved into the city and I took the first job I got and that I became a paralegal. It was meant to be, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, it's really very interesting and amazing that you really are a dabbler. I mean, I thought I was making a joke, but it's true.
Yeah.
So many different
Well, I
things.
have to say there are, links to the different jobs that I have. Like my title here is the office manager. I do all the bookkeeping, and I did that at the restaurant as well. But this isn't a restaurant. This is a TV studio. And you know what? I don't mind because there's so much here that I'm learning that I didn't know before I came here. And it really is interesting.
It sure is.
It really is.
I'm learning a lot since I'm doing this show. Actually, I'm learning a lot about people.
Yeah,
and it's
which is good.
fascinating, and I love to learn about people. It's because the whole world is made out of people.
And to do your job, you have to be able to speak to people and to get information out of them and to get them
Yeah.
to talk, and that's hard.
You think so?
It can be, yeah. I mean, you get somebody that comes and sits on the show and gives you one-word answers. What
Right.
do you do? You have to be able to
Bring them out.
Right,
Yes.
which is hard.
Well, for me, that's
You
just
do a great job of
natural.
it. You do a great
It's
job of it, Judy.
natural. Well, it's just like I invite you in my home, and then I make you comfortable, and then we chat. It's just like that. People tell me that I'm a different person here.
Are
And
you?
not to my knowledge. To me, I'm just natural. I'm always like this.
Uh-huh. You're a sweet person.
Oh, well, you are very sweet too. And we're going to make sure that you're going to get a chance to do the documentary.
Yes.
And then we're all going to pitch in, or is it chip in?
Chip in, pitch in. It all depends.
You know, I'm a foreigner. I don't speak English. So
Oh, you're fine. You've been here how long? Many years, right, Judy?
in America or here at
America.
Altiva? Because this is my 5th year here as a host.
I know, it's amazing. It goes quick, doesn't it?
It is. I never thought this
How
was
many
just,
shows have you done so far? Do you know?
must be over 200.
Wow.
Remember when I had a party a couple of, was it last year or 2 years ago, for the 100th show?
I wasn't here when you had that party, but I do remember people talking about it.
Is that right?
Yeah, it wasn't last year. It must have been the year before.
Isn't that fine? I don't remember. I thought, to me it seems like you're always here.
Yeah, no, it's only been a year and 2 months.
Wow.
It went so quickly, though. But you've done 200 shows.
At least. At least.
Wow, that's a lot of shows.
Well, it's been like 5 years. This is
Yeah.
the 5th year, and it's going to start the 6th in summer.
Wow.
Unbelievable. Well, I'm in demand. That's what happens when you're in demand.
Because you're a star, Judy.
Yeah, I keep telling everybody, I'm the star. And nobody says no, so I must be.
Oh, you're funny. You are funny. So how long have you been in the United States?
I would say forever. Before you were born.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, I came in. Well, then you will be able, if I tell you, then you'll be able to figure out how old I am.
No, well, we don't want to do that, so many years
Well,
you've been here. 20 years.
when I was like a baby, like in 47.
Uh-huh.
How many years ago was that?
That was 62 years ago.
Really? You're very good at math.
That was the year my mother was born.
Oh.
1947.
Wow. That's when I put my little foot on U.S. soil.
Did you come here with your parents?
I came all by myself.
No, you didn't.
So it's been a delight
Are we
having
done?
you here. It looks that way because the
Wow, it went
those
quick.
things go, now it's going up. It was going down, the numbers, and now
Right.
it's going up.
That was quick, Judy.
Was it?
Yeah. Thanks for having me on your show.
Oh, you are such a darling, and you're so knowledgeable. It is amazing.
Thank you.
It's very valuable, all these things that you know.
Thank you.
See, I don't have any of those talents.
Yeah, but you have other talents, so it's okay.
I'm very artistic, inventive, and I just can't make anything work.
Are you a painter? Do you
No,
paint?
I write. I write.